Welcome everybody. Tonight I want to take a moment to have a candid conversation with some fellow hair wearers. To my right I have Matt Gibbons, I have Justin King, and to my left I have Jake Kent. Everybody who is at this kind of round table, we'll call it, brings a different conversation to the table. Matt is a newer hair wearer to the group. Justin is somebody who actually worked in the industry years ago and now has been wearing hair for 19 years. Jake has a mission that he's out on to try to destigmatize hair loss. So this segment that we're doing is called Let's Talk Hair. So I want to take a moment to speak with each one of you and let you each kind of share your story. And then what we'll do at the end is let's kind of have an open forum and, we could ask each other questions and just kind of roll with it. So Matt, tell us a little bit about, your story, and I love the fact that you're the newest one, so it's fresh for you. What did people think? What were the reactions? What was the struggle like with losing your hair? Share with the group and with the folks that are watching how all that rolled up for you.
Sure, Jeff. So, I've just been wearing hair for 4 months now. And, when I first looked, into getting hair, it was something that, I'd done a few years back, maybe 10, 15 years ago. And the research that I'd done then, I self-Googled it, right? And it was basically the products that were out there it's something that, based on my hair loss at the time, wouldn't have helped me, okay? And so it was just one of those things that I thought I was gonna have to live with. I was gonna have to deal with it, and I was gonna have to just accept it, right? Hair loss was something that occurred in my family. And my dad had hair loss, and he just always kind of dealt with it. And his twin brother, hair loss, same thing. And then, when I started into the industry and I started to learn more about the different solutions that are available, and found that there was something that I could do, and I was excited about it. And when I got my hair 4 months ago, it was the Friday before Easter, and the Sunday, family came over, and that was my first anxiety point, right? What are they gonna say, and what's gonna be the reaction? And they didn't notice really at first. They knew something was different. They knew something had changed, but they couldn't really put their finger on it. They're like, we know something's different, what's different? So when I finally told them, I made the decision to get my hair back, and I got hair, they were like, it looks great. And so that, for me, to get through that anxiety point with my family, for anything else or with anyone else, has made this, less stressful, less anxious about it. And for me, I really love having my hair back. I love how I, look with my hair back, and it's something that's been a very positive impact for me since I've gotten it back.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing, and I love that you got to see everybody as a group, but at the same time, that must have been a little nerving for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing. Justin, so tell us, I follow you on Instagram, all right? I love your preaching. I love your TikTok. You have so much energy, man, right? It's absolutely insane. So share with us your journey and what has happened with you and your hair loss to where you are today with, being in your church and being a dad and being as active as you are. I'd love to hear that, and I'm sure the people out there would love to hear that story as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started losing my hair at 17, and by the time I was 20, 21, I had like a quarter life crisis. I looked older than all my friends, and so I wanted to do something about it. And I also had a dad who was bald, who had experienced that his whole life, and he always was like, encouraging me, like, you should do something about it. So when I came to HairClub, I'd already tried everything you can possibly come up with, and HairClub for me was like a last resort, where it should have been my first resort. It should have been the first place I went, right? I did, Xtrands Plus, and it changed everything. It changed my life. But what was different for me versus your story is I did it early enough that nobody knew. And so my big challenge was, like, when I started dating my wife, like, when do I tell her? Do I tell her right away? Do I wait 3 months? Well, I just kept putting it off. I got 9 months in, and finally I'm like, I've got to tell you about this. Like, I have to let you know. And I had built it up to be this massive thing. That's why I think it's so great with what you're doing, destigmatizing it, because I was always like, should I care? Should I not care? Like, I'm not really sure. Like, society says, like, just shave your head. And so, but I really did care, and I can't pull off a shaved head. So I will never forget telling her, I took her for a walk. We took the dogs for a walk at the time. And I was like, I've got to tell you something. And she thought that it was something like awful, like that I was hiding like a kid, or I had like another girlfriend, or like something nuts. But when I told her it was my hair, she's like, "What? Your hair looks great." Like, I don't care. Like, it's your hair as far as I'm concerned. And so, you know, one thing, and you guys probably can relate to this too, one thing I've noticed doing this for so long is my why has changed. Like when I was 20, 21, my why was I wanted to look how I felt. I wanted to look the age of my friends. I wanted that confidence when I was dating. Now, you know, approaching 40, I've got 2 young kids, and I want to be the young dad I feel like. I want to look like I should have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. So that's one thing that sticks out. But with what I do now, speaking in front of large groups of people, like it's everything. The better you look, the better you perform. That's all there is to it. And so I would tell anybody that is thinking about doing it, like there can be a ton of different whys you have, but just find the one that motivates you and make a decision for yourself.
Such a big decision to make.
It is.
It is. So, Jake, I love your story, man. You have a mission out there that is very similar to mine. You want to touch people with hair loss. You want to help them make the decision to move forward. You're using a platform to share that message. So please share with us and tell us all about your journey and really what you're doing to get that message out there and destigmatize hair loss.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that question. So my story starts a lot like this gentleman's right here. Started early and it hit hard and it hit fast, probably in my late teens going into my early 20s. This was something I was so petrified of. My half brother used to torment me that I was gonna lose my hair. And from a very young age, like, I mean, 12, 13, like I shouldn't be thinking about this kind of stuff. Like I should be thinking about school, sports, that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking about losing my hair. I remember being 14, 15 and not thinking about shaving, but instead if I was losing too many hairs in the shower. And I just took this fear that permeated me all throughout, you know, my teens and into my 20s. And lo and behold, I had to deal with hair loss. It's something that struck, and for a long time, I really took this outlook that ignorance was bliss. You know, I remember the first time that someone actually noticed. I had just come back from a 2-month-long rock climbing trip in Europe, hadn't seen my friends. They came over to my place. I was sitting on the couch, and my friend Patrick came over. He said, "Hey buddy, it looks like you're thinning a little bit in the back." And I just remember, like, I'll never forget that gut feeling. It was terrible because it was this thing that I had feared my whole life, and it was something I didn't know if I didn't have any control over. And that's where it all started. And you know, I ignored it for a long time through my 20s and just tried to put it away. But it really changed who I was. I went from being, you know, the charismatic person that was always trying to socialize, make new friends, be with friends, show up in my life. And looking back now, that was the start of this descent into really starting to isolate myself, starting to show up less in my life, in the ways that I presented myself to other people. And I wound up very introverted and alone because of that. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I decided I was gonna do something about that. And it was because I spent most of my 20s reading all the books, you know, about how do I improve myself, make myself kind of like bulletproof, make myself the best man possible. And I had this like searing blind spot that would not go away no matter how much I read. Like, just be in love with yourself, love who you are. If you feel that way, other people will feel that way. And every time I'd look in the mirror, and it would just like melt like hot glue. And it seemed like something that I couldn't fix. So I decided to do something about it. And I mean, I think it's really, for me, it transformed my life. And I had this epiphany moment when, you know, I first had this transformation sitting there in the chair. I looked at myself and I'm like, it took me so long to do this. I had so much fear. I wanted to put it in the back of my mind. I wanted to never ever think about it. And it affected most of my 20s. And that really hurt me, that I had let something like that completely affect like 10 years of my life. So at that moment, it just felt like I had to do something for other people that were going through a similar type of story. I thought, if I let this happen for 10 years, there must be people out there that are letting themselves sit in silence as they're dealing with this issue. And that was kind of the foundation of starting a YouTube channel to just talk about hair loss, to talk about what we're going through, not just like appearance-wise, but psychologically. On the personal development side, like, how does this affect how we are as men? How do we get past this stuff? How do we talk about this stuff that you're approaching with personal development and being the best that you can be, and this catalyst for change? And it's been really amazing to see people respond to that and start to have this movement of people talking about their hair loss and being willing to change it through whatever avenue they're ready to change it through.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and when you think about it, right, years ago, Justin, when you did this and when I did this, people didn't talk about it. Yeah. This was something that was very hush-hush, kept quiet. Today, we're seeing on social media, there's people like Jake, there's people like you who are exposing it now, there's people like myself who are making these videos, so it is out there in the face of public, and today it is becoming something that is the new norm, right? You lose your hair, you can get it back, but it's to the people like you guys that are spreading that word and putting that message out there that's making it mainstream. And we need to continue to do that because, there are people out there that are sitting around, to your point, they're waiting 5 years and 10 years. And, Matt waited some time, obviously. He just had this done now. He's got, your children are how old?
My stepdaughter is 30.
30 years old, right? He's got a 30-year-old stepdaughter. So there's people that are doing it in later stages of life, but if we knew there was a solution this good so many years earlier, or if we had somebody like us to listen to or to talk to, maybe that decision would have been made so much sooner. So I thank you guys really for being here tonight and sharing your stories. This is really great. Hopefully it can reach a lot of people that are really interested in doing something to better themselves and to give themselves, more self-confidence, better appearance, and really move on from hair loss and take those next steps.